Yeah, you tuned into the right place. Welcome to the rain. Golden Queuing. H 2.0. Yeah. You're looking for a diamond, found a treasure in the rough. Tired of all the noise, cause you finally had enough. I'm here to build a movement on a mission for the nation. Dropping gems of knowledge, killing all the hesitation. We fighting for the truth, yeah, we fighting for what's right. Building unity and shining up a brand new light. It's a variety channel, but the vision's crystal clear. Pushing us all forward, conquering the doubt and fear. Welcome to the Queendom, H 2.0 on your screen, where the content's real and smart and funny in between. This is more than just a stream, it's a platform for the change. Time to elevate the game and rearrange. If you're ready for a vibe that you can feel and trust, joining in the movement is a definite must. This ain't just another channel talking smack behind the screen. It's a spotlight for the creators, building up a better scene. Spreading radical love, that's the message in the code. Helping everybody carry up a heavy load. From social justice issues to the laughter that we need. Planting seeds of progress, watch them grow from just a seed. This is authentic, this is raw, this is everything you saw. Welcome to the battle that is truly being fought. Ooh, so come with your respect and see the real effect. Cause I protect my own right here on the throne. Don't make me envy. Unleash the dragon. Subscribe, ring that notification bell. Yeah, you don't wanna miss a thing. Welcome to the family. Yeah. On the bill is looking faded and frayed. The fourth estate is corporate owned and heavily paid. They're trading in the facts for a narrative fabricated. If you leak the truth, you get deleted and degraded. Look, the teleprompter's glowing with the scripted out deception. A digital infection to manipulate perception. They steer the conversation in a singular direction, while the First Amendment's dying with no hope of resurrection. It's a manufactured crisis, yeah, they're selling us the fear. Whispering the lies until it's all the people here. They call it fact-checking just to keep the vision blurry, while they bury every whistleblower in a frantic hurry. Silence in the streets, silence in the booth. A total moratorium on anyone with truth. They're tearing out the pages, yeah, they're burning down the fence. A war against the people and against our common sense. It's the sound of the silent. It's heavy and it's cold. It's the sound of the silent. It's heavy and it's cold. Independent outlets, yeah, they're catching all the heat. The ones who skip the press release and actually hit the beat. But the algorithms weaponize, the reach is getting throttled. The spirit of the journalist is suffocated bottle. They shadow ban the brave and they platform the fake. It's a psychological game with the highest of stakes. If you don't toe the line, then they label you a threat, putting filters on your mouth like a suffocating net. They claim they're stopping harm, but they're only stopping thought. Democracy is auctioned and the airwaves have been bought. The gatekeepers are frantic, they're losing their control. So they're trying to put a padlock on the collective soul. They're cutting the wires, they're pulling the plugs, treating the seekers of truth like the thugs. From the boardrooms to the courtrooms, the pressure is rising. The death of the discourse of what they're devising. The spark in the dark is a beautiful thing. Let the bells of the rebels and dissidents ring. Of peace if the cost is your tongue. The songs of the ancestors are waiting to be sung. They want us quiet, compliant, and staring at the floor while they're locking up the exits and they're bolting every door. But the truth is a frequency they can't fully jam. I'm a man with a mind, I'm not a ghost in their program. No more silence. The loudest thing in the world is the truth they try to hide. Keep the mic on, keep the eyes open.
Hey y'all, what's up? What's up? What's up? It's your girl Golden. I'm back, y'all, with another live. We got some more things to get into. Per usual, we'll be talking about some political matters. But I hope everybody is having a good day. It is about 11:53 a.m. here, Eastern Time in the Carolinas in the United States. It's a nice day outside. The sun is shining really bright, and so y'all know what that means. I'll be in a good mood when the sun is shining. I hope you all are having a great day in whatever respectful time zone it is that you're in, whether it's morning, afternoon, evening, or night. I hope it's a good day for you all. So, yes, as y'all can see in the title, y'all, we got a few things that we're going to be covering and getting some updates to. Let me go ahead and give y'all a brief synopsis of what we'll be talking about on today's live, okay? So, as you know, we definitely have stepped into a political firestorm that is exposing cracks at every level of power. Well, first and foremost, we have Epstein, okay? After a disastrous House deposition, Ghislaine Maxwell is reportedly sending what some are calling a final warning, signaling that she is ready to talk, but only if presidential clemency is on the table. That is not accountability, y'all. That is leverage. And when leverage enters the room, the entire political establishment starts sweating. At the same time, we also have Attorney General Pam Bondi, and she is facing more backlash now from all sides after her explosive testimony during the Epstein hearings. Even members of her own party are questioning the redactions that allegedly exposed survivors, while powerful names remain protected. When victims feel ignored and political games take center stage, trust starts to collapse. Then we will be moving over to the Senate, where Cory Booker is openly challenging what he calls the weaponization of the Justice Department, blasting what he describes as shameful. Nominations after career officials were pushed out. The fight over advice and consent is no longer procedural, it is personal. Also, we have Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and he is under scrutiny in court and in the Congress, facing tough questions about executive power and the limits of military authority at home. The exchanges have been sharp, and the optics are even sharper. And inside the MAGA movement itself, fractures are being shown. Again, Attorney General Pam Bondi facing more backlash from Republican voices now. While we also have Detroit pastor Lorenzo Soil is being criticized for defending the administration's rollback of diversity policies as anti-racist. The debate just isn't political anymore. It's moral, it's theological, and it is deeply cultural. And finally, in sadder news, we will be talking a bit about the border. There's a lawsuit involving the Dilley Detention Facility in Texas that alleged unsafe conditions for migrant children, including denied medical care and unsanitary water. When policies meet reality, it's children who bear the consequences. So this isn't just about the headlines. It's about power, protection, accountability, and who pays the price when politics becomes a shield instead of a service. So today, we're going to connect the dots. We separate performance from principle, and we ask the questions that too many in Washington refuse to answer. Who is actually standing up for the people? So let's go ahead and get into it, y'all. So the first video, y'all know I play some videos and some audios. First video I'm going to go ahead and play for y'all. We're going to start with Ghislaine. I was very disgusted when I watched her testimony of her pleading the fifth the entire time. But we're going to hear from none other than Ben Masilas from Midas Touch. And Ghislaine is sending now a final warning to Trump after that disastrous hearing. Apparently, she will speak, but only if she gets what she wants. Let's go ahead and get into this video, y'all. And y'all know, per usual, I will meet y'all in the chat and we will talk about it. 1 second. Here we go.
Ghislaine Maxwell has sent a warning to Donald Trump after the disastrous hearing of Pam Bondi. Ghislaine essentially wrote to Donald Trump, "You better be careful what your cabinet members are saying." And Ghislaine posted this through family members who run a social media account for her. Specifically, here's what Ghislaine Maxwell had her family post after Attorney General Pam Bondi's awful hearing. So what Ghislaine Maxwell wrote: America's Attorney General told a House Judiciary Committee meeting today she hopes Ghislaine Maxwell dies in prison. This is an extraordinary thing for a nation's chief law officer to wish. It sounds less like justice than bloodlust. Ghislaine is serving a 20-year sentence, not a life term. To hope it proves fatal blurs the line between punishment and revenge. The Justice Department is already under scrutiny for its handling of the Epstein files. It now faces a simpler question. If the guardian of the law talks like a shock jock, what faith should the public have in the system she runs? What happened to prosecution without passion, to prosecution without prejudice? And it's interesting that Ghislaine focuses on that. Overall, Bondi was clearly involved in the cover-up of the child sex trafficking ring, which Ghislaine was convicted of, for which Epstein was charged with and convicted of earlier as well, which Donald Trump is covering up. But there was one small moment under intense cross-examination by Democratic Congresswoman Ross, who was asking Bondi about Ghislaine Maxwell being transferred from Tallahassee to this club-fed VIP facility in Texas, Camp Bryan. And you can tell that this struck a nerve with Bondi, because what I had always heard from all of my sourcing is that Bondi and Blanche were in a dispute over it, not because Bondi didn't want it to take place, but because Bondi was being blamed for it and had not coordinated it herself. She thought it was done behind her back by Blanche, and Bondi was not given notice of it before, although Bondi was someone who wanted to help Donald Trump cover up the child sex trafficking ring. So when Bondi was being cross-examined on this, Bondi was like, I don't know how the transfer happened. There's a fight right now going on behind the scenes between Bondi and Blanche. People think that Blanche is going to soon be replacing Bondi, especially after her disastrous performance as the next attorney general. So that's part of what was going on behind the scenes. But if you look at Ghislaine's coded language right here, to hope it proves fatal blurs the line. The Justice Department is already under scrutiny for its handling of the Epstein files. And then it faces a simpler question. If the guardian of the law talks like a shock jock, what faith should the public have in the system she runs? I mean, by the way, screw you, Ghislaine. I mean, you're a child sex trafficker. So let me be very blunt about that. But I want to point out the coded language here. Shock jock, I also think, is directed at Trump, given his prior connections with Howard Stern and a lot of the audio that came out there. And then she's talking about the public already doesn't trust you. Remember what our deal was, Donald. Remember what Blanche told me. This is what I think is going on behind the scenes here. I'll give you more data points, but let me show you over here the questioning, the cross-exam by Congresswoman Ross to Bondi. And Bondi was able to stay on her script of basically attacking the members of Congress, ducking and dodging. But there was this moment where she let it slip. And then Ghislaine hit her right away and hit Trump right away with that statement. And to me, it's saying, stay in your lane. And this is the problem where you have the Trump regime essentially being run at this point by Ghislaine's threats, right? Trump is compromised. He's shown weakness to Ghislaine, and she knows exactly where to poke and prod. So watch this cross-examination so you can see for yourself.
Attorney General Bondi, does a convicted sex offender like Ghislaine Maxwell deserve special treatment and privileges in prison? Yes or no?
Let me be crystal clear on this. No. And
Thank you.
let me keep going. No, let me keep going.
Perfect. Well, I
did not know she was being transferred.
I asked you yes or no.
She was not transferred to a lower
Mr. Chairman,
level.
please stop the clock and remind the witness of the rules. One rule she needs to understand
I'm glad
here.
that we're agreeing. So when we're agreeing, we can move on to some other things.
When
But
we're
I
not
want you
agreeing,
to know that every time she does get these perks, and it's been publicly reported, that the folks she's abused, the survivors who are sitting here, they see themselves as being denied justice. They feel re-traumatized. And I'm glad that we agree on that. But she should not be in that prison. And she needs to be moved back to a maximum security prison as soon as possible. But what she has told another committee here is that she won't cooperate with them unless she gets clemency from Donald Trump. It's just crazy to consider that she can be wielding this kind of influence within the administration. But that begs the question, who ordered her to be transferred to the minimum security prison that she was ineligible for? Who signed off on the special privileges? Was it Mr. Blanche? Was it one of your other subordinates? So please, can you tell us who sent her there, since you don't agree she should be there?
I said I do not agree she should receive special treatment. She was transferred, I learned after the fact, to the same level facility, and that is a question for the Bureau of Prisons. I was not involved in that at all. The same level facility, I don't know why, but instead of talking about Ghislaine Maxwell, who hopefully will die in prison, you should be talking about Irina Zarutska.
I have a couple
who
of
died
other
on a
questions.
subway.
Right, and I absolutely—
You don't talk about that.
I have been talking about it and actually helping with these issues. But we're going to move back to you.
I bet we are.
Yes, of course, because you're here to testify. That's what the whole point of this endeavor is. So of course we're moving back to you. It is all about you.
Now, of course, this follows the statement by Ghislaine's lawyer, David Oscar Marcus, what he said at her deposition where she invoked the fifth. Remember, he goes on and says, but if you grant her clemency, Donald Trump, she will exonerate you. She can testify today. Sure, she talked to Todd Blanche and said what you wanted, Donald. Remember? Now just grant her clemency and she'll bring it home for you, Donald. In my opinion, that's the coded language. I'm just giving you my opinion, but you could disagree, right? We're all entitled to our First Amendment opinion speech. But I think that's what Ghislaine was saying. Bring it home, Donald. And she likes Blanche, doesn't like Bondi, even though Bondi's playing to an audience of one with Donald Trump to cover up the child sex trafficking ring, while they're competing, Blanche and Bondi, for who can cover up the child sex trafficking ring better for Donald. Like, do you see what's going on behind the scenes? And I'll give you this example right here. When Democratic Congress member, this is one of the types of things that Ghislaine can actually reveal. And hopefully we get this information anyway. But Congress member Goldman, when he went to the DOJ special facility where they have the unredacted Epstein files, which are being unlawfully withheld, there are documents that Epstein forwarded to Ghislaine, so she knows all about this. And that's obvious. If these were forwarded to her in 2009, she was lying through her teeth when she spoke to Todd Blanche. I don't know anything about Donald Trump. You knew in very detail what was going on. But this email, I believe, shows Donald Trump's lawyers speaking with Epstein lawyers, showing that Epstein was never banned from Mar-a-Lago. He was never a member to begin with. He was always a guest and a friend of Donald Trump. And the DOJ is withholding this document. It's a perfect example to protect Donald Trump under a claim of privilege. This is, I think, there's a lot of people talking about documents. This is the most important one. And Ghislaine knows that this document and many more like this. So what her warning is to Donald Trump, the public already doesn't trust this process. So we know that she's an absolute liar and you can't trust anything she says, and she's a convicted sex trafficker. But what she could do is give a roadmap where to find documents that are being withheld right now, which she knows exist, like this one right here. And then you can corroborate it at least with the document. Watch this exchange between Goldman and Bondi when Bondi's like, oh, this information about Trump is privileged. It's being with what are you talking about? It's privilege, right? Nuts. Here, play this clip.
I also found an email that I have right here from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell that was unredacted. And it included notes of statements that Donald Trump made about his prior relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, there is no reason for this to be hidden from the American people. There is no privilege. There is no attorney-client privilege. And I see you're checking with your staff. And I can assure you, staff, this is not under attorney-client privilege because it was sent from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell. Will you commit to publicly providing the unredacted version of this so that the American people can understand the extent of Donald Trump's lies about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein?
You're about as good of a lawyer today as you were when you tried to impeach President Trump in 2016. Have you apologized for that in 2019?
So will you unredact this? Will you
were
unredact
lead counsel on that. Privileged.
I'm asking you, will you unredact this?
Privileged.
Privileged, of course. I look forward to discussing this more.
Lately, everyone's trying to clean up their habits, myself included, and honestly, having one less drink has never felt easier. Instead of pouring a cocktail, I've been reaching for Sol's out.
I can't really answer. We're moving on. I can't answer that, right? I mean, you had Caroline Leavitt 2 days ago when she was asked about this, said, is the president going to rule out a pardon? Oh, this isn't even something we talk about. That's the talking point that for that one moment Bondi missed. Here, play this clip.
Ghislaine Maxwell, is the president going to rule out a pardon for her in her testimony, deposition yesterday? Her legal team seems to be making a case again for a pardon from the president.
Again, this is not something I've discussed with the president recently because, frankly, it's not a priority. He's focused on many of the issues that the American people are dealing with and providing solutions to those issues. So I haven't spoken with him recently. Last time we did speak about it, he said it's not something he's considering or thinking about.
Thanks, Caroline. Secretary Lutnick today was testifying on the Hill.
And look, James Comer understood the talking point. Play this clip.
Mr. Chairman, quick question. What are your thoughts about Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer saying she needs clemency to testify before she testifies?
Well, I don't know. Initially, she said a month ago that she would testify if we granted her immunity on the Oversight Committee. And we discussed that after we met with the survivors, and they didn't support that. So we never considered it after that. So this was something new today. Obviously, that's not for me to decide. That's for the president to decide.
Thank you.
Congressmember Cole understood the talking point. Play this clip.
Mr. Chairman, real quick, should Ghislaine Maxwell get clemency to testify?
I'm sorry?
Should Ghislaine Maxwell get clemency to testify?
Oh, I have no earthly idea.
Oh, got it. Any updates on DHS funding?
Don't know yet. I mean, we've passed the bill. We're still waiting on the Senate to do something.
Got it.
This is just ridiculous at this point. Don't nobody know nothing. Just like Imani said, at this point in time, there's so many shapeshifters in the government, and even on this app, people adopting culture that is alien to them to hide behind nefarious acts and backstabbing, shaking my daggone head. Exactly. They don't know anything. Like, everybody woke up with amnesia, respectfully. Understand, that's a severe situation, but I'm just like, really? Y'all got nothing to say, no statement, no comment, just don't know nothing. Not sure. Let's keep going.
It's open to any of the proposed reforms that Democrats put out.
the original bill was passed, and that's training.
Congresswoman Maliotakis understood the talking point. Play this clip.
Congressman, real quick, should Ghislaine Maxwell get clemency to testify?
I got some physician's office.
Oh,
Sorry.
got it.
And here is Caroline Leavitt saying, we're moving on from Epstein. We're not talking about it anymore.
And that remains true. And this call, if it did happen, corroborates exactly what President Trump has said from the beginning. And I'm sure many of you, when you read that alleged FBI report, probably thought to yourself, wow, this really cracks our narrative that we've been trying to push about this president for many years. So we're moving on from that. Reagan.
You're moving on? Really? You're just moving on? And by the way, folks, even right-wing podcasters like Andrew Scholes, they realize what's going on. Watch what Scholes says about Ghislaine Maxwell wanting clemency. Play this clip.
Ghislaine speaks with Trump's former lawyer, and then all of a sudden now she's in a nice cushy place, and all of a sudden she's pleading the fifth.
Yeah. And she said,
that's weird.
I'll blab if you let me out.
She
says, if he gives me immunity or clemency, is that the word? What's the difference between clemency and immunity?
I thought clemency, you take away the charges. Immunity is just like
you still have the charges, but anything I say can't be used against me.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Okay, so she wants clemency to clear Trump's name, and it's like, well, if his name was clear, why do you need clemency?
But immunity is before, clemency's after. That's what they're saying.
Got it. Okay, but like to me, like, is she shrewd enough to indict him that way? Like, is she smart enough to go, yeah, I'll clear Trump if you give me clemency? Well, if he's clear, why are you even putting that on the table?
That's
Well,
right? Like, just
she might be shrewd enough, but she doesn't have to be, because her attorneys are meeting with her, being like, "Hey, just say this." You know what I mean?
Fair
Like,
enough.
you have enough smart people working on her behest to be like, "Hey, here's what you're going to say," in order to put pressure on the right people.
And also you have Scholes saying, how powerful are the people that Trump is trying to protect? We know it's obvious to me, to Scholes, to anybody, no matter where you stand, right, left, center, independent, left, boom, up, down, purple, green, red, blue. It's obvious. Watch what Scholes says.
So how powerful are the people that Trump is protecting? Or does Epstein or the powers that be have incriminating evidence on him prior to the 2005? Evidence of him doing any, I don't even want to mention horrible fucking things.
Can you please just hear me out? Now,
where he's willing to go down with the ship instead of just exposing it. Because if he did stop being friends with him and he was sure that they didn't have anything, knowing Trump, wouldn't he just sell everyone else down the river?
That's what I'm saying.
Even Tim Pool. Here's what Tim Pool had to say. Play this clip.
I ain't cutting Trump any slack. Now that we know that they've covered up the conspirator documents, there's a document saying that they are investigating co-conspirators Epstein. There's photos and videos of minors and children. Dan Bongino was like, look, a lot of these things were hearsay and, fake tips that were uncorroborated. All of that is true, but there's still no excuse for them not exposing these deep, dark, corrupt pedos. Like, I can understand. Bill Gates didn't do anything criminal. If it is true that he got an STD from Russian hookers and gave it to his wife on accident, that's not illegal. He got divorced. I can understand why it's embarrassing. And I can respect someone saying, please don't release that email. It's not material to anybody. It's just internal drama that's gross and embarrassing.
Yeah.
But there's other stuff in there, like that's already being brought up, that I would say is shocking to the conscience that Trump called it a hoax.
And then I'll leave you with Congressmember Walkinshaw said the following about Trump's view on clemency, about Ghislaine. And this again, this is why Ghislaine made that post. Because when she heard, she was good with everything else Bondi said. But that one moment, Ghislaine's reasserting herself and saying, Donald, get Blanche to be the AG. Donald, and trust me, that coded message is being sent. Let's play the clip of Democratic Congressmember Walkinshaw. Let's play it.
Ghislaine Maxwell is a monster. She facilitated, aided, and abetted Epstein's crimes, engaged in those crimes. She was the enforcer who threatened the victims and the survivors of those crimes. And today we looked into the eyes of that monster in the deposition. What we did not get were any substantive answers to the questions that were asked that would advance our investigation, to help us learn who were the other men involved in these crimes, to help us learn who were the others who knew about these crimes, to help us learn what exactly was said between Todd Blanche and Ghislaine Maxwell that led her to be transferred to a minimum security prison. What we did get was another episode in her long-running campaign for clemency from President Trump. And President Trump could end that today. He could rule out clemency for Ghislaine Maxwell, the monster. He could rule out a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell, the monster. The question for all of us today is, why hasn't he done that, and why won't he do that?
Well, there you have it. Let me know what you all think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million. Thanks everybody for watching.
All right, y'all. So that was Ben Basilis on the Midas Touch Network, and he broke that down like so well. But this is literally what has been going on for like the past month. This is what these people are doing. This is what they're saying. This is how they're showing up. And it's just ridiculousness. And us as the people who are watching this, as I can't believe that they think that we are so foolish enough to fall for this, fall for these tricks, or agree with any of this absurdity. Like, it's really getting to a point where I don't know what's going to happen. But I think the American people are tired of it. And it's not even just American people. It is global. People all over the world are seeing this, and they don't agree with any of it. And it has to stop and it has to end. These people need to go. They never belonged in these positions. They never belonged here. They don't know what they're doing. They're nasty pieces of work, and they got to go. They got to go. But anyway, y'all, we got to take a quick song break per usual. After we come back from the song break, we're going to get into Senator Booker. Like I said, Senator Booker, he was going in, y'all. So we'll get into that right after the song break. Yeah, this is a bit much. This is a bit much. We'll be right back.
Yeah. They thought we were sleeping. Woke up! Woke up! Woke up! Wake up! 1 weekend, Noma lost a fox in the DHS. She was playing checkers while we're dealing with this mess. Last spread it in the street, nurse with illegal heat. Holstered in the holster, but they killed them for the feet. Yeah, the surges hitting cities, call it metro, call it war. They're knocking down the Constitution on the bedroom door. Bleep is split. Massey screaming, what's the price? A new one's on the stand, yeah, she's skating on the ice. They stripped the bill, they removed the clause. No safety for the people, they're breaking all the laws. Rocket in the room, yeah, she's looking at the files. Comers out of time, she's been waiting for the trial. We got boots on the earth, I'm moving through the mist. They want the total surge, we're coming with the fist. Boots on the ground, yeah, the narrative is dead. Trump firing the chiefs while the streets are seeing red. Stay live. close. Listen close. Listen close. Listen close. They remove the ban on deporting the citizens. The current appearing for the bullets in the prisons. From Minneapolis to D.C., the wall is falling down. They can't stop the movement when we're holding down the town. Got boots on the ground, moving through the mist. They want the total surge. We're coming with the fist. Boots on the ground, yeah, the narrative is dead. Trump firing the chiefs while the streets are seeing red. Stay down, lay down, lay down, lay down, lay down, lay down, lay down. The surge is crumbling. We see you. We see it all.
All right, y'all. So we had to take that quick song break, but we are back. So we're going to go ahead and get into the next video for this live here. So we have Senator Cory Booker, okay, has taken a leading role in opposing the administration's latest slate of nominees, particularly following the mass firing of career DOJ officials. Booker recently lashed out on the Senate floor, calling the latest nomination shameful and accusing the administration of weaponizing the Justice Department to bypass civil rights protections. We will be analyzing these viral moments from the floor and what this all means for the future of the Senate advice and consent role. Let's go ahead and get into this video, y'all, directly from the court.
Mr. Carl, I never thought I would have somebody that made a lot of the statements that you've made before the United States Senate, and I would love to discuss some of your comments. You're going to be working with international organizations. Do you think one race is superior than another race on the planet Earth?
Senator, absolutely not.
You don't. So do you think that America would be weaker if it was, say, 40% Jewish?
Senator, absolutely not in and of itself. I think the problem...
Well, why did you qualify that?
No. Well, Senator, if you let me
itself?
finish, I do not. I believe that unity, as President Trump has said, rather than diversity, is a greater strength.
But why not simply say it doesn't matter what percentage of our population is Jewish?
Senator, it certainly doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Senator, if I could finish, as somebody of Jewish origin myself, and I do want to take this moment to say, because there have been some comments made, one of my weaknesses, and we've discussed some that you may think in general are weaknesses, is sometimes I take an idea too far. And I made some comments in interviews about minimizing the effect of the Holocaust that were absolutely wrong. And I'm not going to sit here and defend them here. I just want to be very, very clear on that point. Again, had I been in Germany in that time, even though I'm a sixth-generation American, but had I not, I would have been killed just like anybody else.
I've heard you say that you regret some of your comments about Jews.
Absolutely.
Do you regret any other comments about any other races?
Senator, you would have to reference a certain comment, but I'm certainly not a perfect person, and I'm sure that I've made...
Do you regret any of your comments about Latino Americans?
Senator, I'm sure that if you read me every single comment I'd made about a group, there would be some that, upon consideration...
So you stipulate for this body that you have in your past made comments about Jews and Latinos and perhaps blacks that you perhaps regret?
Senator, thank you for the question. As a Calvinist who believes that we're all infinitely sinful and only redeemed through grace.
Sir, we're sending you into a very diverse world.
Yeah.
And you can't say unequivocally that America, it doesn't matter what our racial makeup is. You believe it matters what the racial makeup of America is.
Senator.
Do you believe it matters, yes or no, what the racial makeup of America is?
Senator, to echo President Trump, I believe
I don't want
unity
you to
rather
echo
than diversity.
President Trump. I want you to answer my question, yes or no. Does it matter what the racial makeup of America is?
Senator, I'll stand on my comment. Thank you.
What's your comment? Answer the question, yes or no.
Echoing President Trump, I believe unity rather than diversity is a strength.
So you have a problem if America grew to be more Latinos than white people?
Senator, the individual group is not important. This is a cross-societal...
What do you mean when you say that you believe in the Great Replacement theory?
Senator, thank you for that question. This refers to the intentional demographic replacement of Europeans in Europe. It was invented by Renaud Camus, who was a French scholar.
You think there's an active effort to, quote unquote, replace Americans right now?
Senator, I think the Democratic Party, through its immigration policies, has certainly shown signs of that.
And I don't understand that. So you are saying that if more Americans are Black or Latino Americans, that somehow weakens America because it puts whites in a minority?
Senator, I never said anything like that, nor do I actually believe that. I want to be very clear that regardless of country, if people generally share more in common,
can I read you what you've said? Because it sounds like this. You said the great replacement is real, and they are going to try to make you pay for it. Who is they?
Senator, thank you for that question. I simply don't know from you reading that one isolated comment.
So this is the problem. You make the most incendiary comments that you admit that you regret about Jews, about Latinos, about Blacks. And you sit here and say that you do not have a worldview, that somehow our country is weakened based upon the populations of each. In fact, you say in your writings that it is a threat to the United States of America and create an us versus them. And the only interpretation I can have of us versus them is it's white people against others, which sounds deeply racist to me. That somehow you think our country's greatness depends upon its ethnic diversity as long as white people have more numbers than others. That does not sound like a nation that was founded with the belief that all people are created equal and equal before the eyes of God. It sounds like you have a racial hierarchy. There's no way for me to read this in any other way.
Senator,
because you have said our country, based upon religious diversity, based upon ethnic diversity, based upon racial diversity, you have indicated that somehow those make America weaker or stronger. That God forbid our nation grows in population, that then you suddenly say, I'm aggrieved, and they are trying to replace us. This is the United States of America. We are one nation under God, but you cut us up and divide us along racial lines.
Senator, respectfully, I do not think that they do.
You cannot use the word respectfully because you do not respect me.
Oh,
you
no,
look
actually,
upon
I do.
me as my color of my skin. You say holidays like Juneteenth are racial hustles. Don't come here and hustle me.
Senator,
you have said statements that other nations are going to look upon you and read plainly. When you go to a country of a different religion or ethnicity, you have discriminated against Jews in your writing, you have discriminated against others, and then you claim yourself as a victim. Mr. Chairman, I've never seen such a blatantly racist individual who doesn't even deny that he's made these statements, but wants to tell us that he regrets them, and yet still believes that this body, who is committed to principles of equality, who is committed to ideals of our founders, that you're not in direct violation to the ideals and values and principles. And the last thing I want to say, I watched people beat others when they attacked the Capitol, viciously attack police officers. Brian Sicknick, a New Jersey resident, was beaten near death and would die days later. And you say those violent felons, you literally have said that they were treated worse than people during Jim Crow, when thousands of Americans were lynched, murdered, beaten, and killed. You equate Capitol Hill rioters with receiving worse treatment than Americans during Jim Crow, which even some of the worst people who participated in that violence and beatings have come forward decades later and said, I was wrong. It is shameful that when this body ran for its life, when they had gallows for the vice president put outside, when they tried to stop the peaceful transfer of power, that you would equate those people to the folks that were victimized and terrorized by white nationalist organizations like the KKK. Sir, you have no decency. You have no honor. You say inflammatory things because it thinks it will ingratiate you to those who are paying your salary. And you sit here before me and try to wrap yourself in the American flag. Well, I believe in this nation. I believe in the principles. I believe in those who fought and died for our country. You disgrace that legacy and the ideals that we all swear an oath to uphold, that does not believe in one nation for one people and another people. Dear God, I pray for us if we let somebody like you represent us to the diverse nations of the world as representing the values of our country.
Senator, I
Chairman,
absolutely
yield.
deplore Jim Crow, but I do not agree with the characterization that you have done of my views.
Dropshipping has never.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let it ring out loud. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea, like the mighty waters. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. We remember it all. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Hope is alive, yeah. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on. Let's keep marching till victory is won. Stony the road we trod. Bitter the castanet rock. But we're still here.
All right, y'all. So that was just a quick song break that I just needed to take right there. We're getting ready to get into the next video. I thought it was actually, pretty much an appropriate song, especially following all of the things that, Senator Cory Booker was saying, which I couldn't agree more, honestly, but sometimes, we just got to stand up and speak up for what we're seeing, what we're experiencing, what is real, what we feel, what is really going on. And a lot of this is it's a shame. It really is a shame that in 2026, this is what we're experiencing, that we're going back in time. We're going back in history, and we're supposed to be moving forward. But anyway, y'all, we got to get into some more stuff. So the next video we're going to play, we're going to show you here a little breakdown about Pete Hegseth and ultimate humiliation in court. So this is Brian Tyler Cohen. We're going to go ahead and listen to him with some of this audio here, y'all. So let me go ahead and get this up on the stage for y'all. 1 second. Child, they are getting it left and right. They really are. And you know what? I don't feel not one bit bad about it, because it's about time that something gets said and something gets done. And so, you know, sometimes these things just need to get exposed. But let's get into this audio, y'all. I'm going to meet y'all in the chat.
You're watching the legal breakdown. Glenn, Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, just got some bad news in court, swatted down by a judge. Can you explain what just happened?
Yeah, Brian, Senator Mark Kelly is running roughshod over the Trump administration. First, they tried to criminally indict him even though he committed no crime. All he did was make a public service announcement video reminding military members that they must disobey unlawful orders. That's like black letter law right out of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. And then just today, after he sued Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, for trying to punish him, bust him down in rank, take some of his retirement pay for speaking that truth. Hegseth said that's service discrediting and it's, damaging to good order and discipline of the military troops. Well, here is what Judge Leon in Federal District Court in Washington, D.C. just said in his ruling in favor of Senator Mark Kelly. He said this court has all it needs to conclude that defendant Hegseth and company have trampled on Senator Kelly's First Amendment freedoms and threatened the constitutional liberties of millions of military retirees. After all, as Bob Dylan famously said, you don't need to be a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. To say the least, our retired veterans deserve more respect from their government, and our Constitution demands they receive it. I'm going to give Judge Leon the hallelujah chorus. He issued a preliminary injunction telling Pete Hegseth, no, you will not be punishing retired Navy Admiral and current United States Senator Mark Kelly for speaking the truth on what is a political matter, whether our military members are being put in a position where they're being asked to potentially obey unlawful orders. This was a runaway win for Senator Kelly.
So, Glenn, this makes two wins now, because just a few days ago, the effort to actually indict these Democratic lawmakers and Democratic senators for committing the crime of repeating exactly what's in the military code of conduct, that effort failed. There were no grand jurors who were actually willing to indict. And if I remember correctly, that number was zero. Like, there wasn't even a single grand juror who was willing to vote in favor of this indictment. And now it looks like we have this civil suit, if I'm not mistaken, that also failed. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it really was a great couple of days for Senator Mark Kelly. But more importantly, Brian, it was a great couple of days for the rule of law and the United States Constitution. Pam Bondi and Jeanine Pirro found somebody. They scrounged up somebody to go into a federal grand jury in Washington, D.C., and try to criminally indict 6 innocent people, all of whom happened to be members of Congress. They were either military veterans or formerly members of the intelligence community. And Brian, all they did was really, in substance, read from the UCMJ, the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Those are the criminal laws that apply to service members. And they said, listen, military members take an oath of loyalty to support and defend the Constitution. Part of their responsibility in taking that oath is that they must disobey unlawful orders. I mean, think about it. If a superior commissioned officer ordered a troop to kill that unarmed citizen, would Pete Hegseth have us believe that the soldier or the sailor or the seaman should carry out that order? No. And all these 6 members of Congress did was remind our military members, our veterans, and all of the American people of that non-negotiable responsibility. And, Jeanine Pirro sent somebody into the grand jury to try to indict Senator Mark Kelly and the other 5 members of Congress who appeared in that video. I love what Jamie Raskin said, I believe it was the other day, at the congressional testimony of Attorney General Pam Bondi. He said flat out, Donald Trump orders up prosecutions like pizzas, and you, AG Bondi, are happy to deliver them. Well, this grand jury rejected that vindictive pizza from, I guess we could call it Papa Don's, and they basically figuratively threw Jeanine Pirro and her lawyers out on their ear. They said, no, we will not indict people who committed no crimes.
And I want to talk about how this is going to impact future cases, future vindictive or selective prosecutions that the Trump administration engages in. But first, just a quick note for those who are watching. If you'd like to support our work and see more legal news, the best way to do that is to subscribe to both of our channels. I'm going to put those links in the post description of this video. It's 100% free to do so, but it's a great way to support us and independent media. So again, those links are in the post description. So Glenn, in terms of how this is going to have any impact on future cases, does this chip away at the presumption of regularity that most judges would normally offer up to the DOJ?
It absolutely does. And just for our viewers, the presumption of regularity has applied to the Department of Justice and the prosecutors who go into court every day doing the work of the American people. It has applied for decades. And what that presumption stands for is that when a prosecutor stands up in court and is duty-bound to tell the truth, we have an ethical duty of candor to the court. Usually when we make representations to the judge credits our representations. Why? Because DOJ typically enjoys a presumption of regularity in the work that they're doing on behalf of the American people. But Brian, judge after judge, federal judge after federal judge has started to say in their rulings, in their opinions, in their orders, we will no longer apply the presumption of regularity to Department of Justice lawyers because they are being caught in misrepresentations, one after another after another. So this ruling today from Judge Leon will serve Senator Mark Kelly well moving forward. And here's how. Even though what happens in one case, indeed, this is one civil case, doesn't really have any direct precedential value either in another civil case or in a criminal case, unless you're Senator Mark Kelly. And you now have a judge finding that the Trump administration, through Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, just tried to violate Senator Kelly's constitutional rights. Retaliate, that's a word that is throughout this ruling by Judge Leon. Retaliate against Senator Kelly for exercising his First Amendment rights, indeed, for speaking the truth. And now we know that there is a record established in this court ruling that the Trump administration has tried to wrongfully punish Senator Kelly. What do you think will happen if Jeanine Pirro deigns to go back into the grand jury a second time, through one of her lawyers, and actually succeeds in obtaining a criminal indictment against Mark Kelly for the very same language that Judge Leon just ruled enjoys First Amendment constitutional free speech protection? That case will be thrown out even faster than the James Comey and Letitia James indictments are thrown out. So even though it's not directly precedential, boy, it will carry a lot of weight in the mind of any future judge who has to take on the question of, let's see, is the Trump administration vindictively going after Senator Mark Kelly? I think Senator Kelly, figuratively speaking, is bulletproof on this issue if the Trump administration tries to drag him back into court, either civilly or criminally.
Glenn, I have to ask, given the fact that what the Trump administration was alleging here was so ass backwards. I mean, again, they were just repeating exactly what's in the Uniform Military Code of Justice. Like they were just literally reading it off the page. You cannot follow an unlawful order. It's right there in black and white. Given the fact that this was so frivolous, what do you think the purpose of this whole of this whole venture was for the Trump administration and for Pete Hegseth? Like, do you think that they really believed a judge was going to be like, yes, repeating verbatim what's out of this, code of justice is somehow a crime or a civil violation, and we're going to allow this whole farce to proceed? Like, what do you presume the point of this was?
A couple of things. First of all, Donald Trump wants to use the Department of Justice as a weapon in his hand. Facts, law, and Constitution be damned, to go after his perceived enemies. So the result matters less to Donald Trump than the fact that his flunkies at the Department of Justice, his sycophants, his lapdogs, were willing to do his unconstitutional bidding against one of his perceived enemies, Senator Mark Kelly. So that is one reason. Another reason is to instill fear and intimidation in the minds of others, specifically in the minds of other military members, veterans, and retirees. And Brian, they succeeded. You know how we know they succeeded? In this 25-page ruling from Judge Leon, he cites an amicus brief, a friend of the court brief that was filed. In that brief, there was an affidavit from more than 40 military retirees and veterans. And you know what they swore to under oath? They were intimidated in otherwise exercising their free speech against the Trump administration, against the lawlessness of the military under Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. They were chilled. They were intimidated because of what the administration just did to Senator Mark Kelly. We don't have to speculate on whether this, resulted in intimidation. It had a chilling effect on the free speech rights of others. There's evidence in the record that it did, and I think that was another goal of Trump, Hegseth, and company.
And so what impact then do you think that Hegseth losing and Mark Kelly winning here, do you think that that's going to have an adverse effect where it emboldens other service members to be able to speak out? Or do you think that, the toothpaste is out of the tube, the damage is done, and, even though they weren't successful in their venture to sue Mark Kelly and these other Democratic officials, they've still sent the message to any other, members of the military what their expectations are?
You know what? I'm going to call this one a push. I'm going to say that some people will probably still be intimidated, but others will be emboldened because they saw that Senator Kelly just fought the Trump administration and he won. And with every loss the Trump administration is suffering in court, hell, they just had 2 against Senator Kelly, one in civil court and one attempted in criminal court when the grand jury told Jeanine Pirro, get out of here. We're not going to indict Senator Kelly and the others. That I think will also have the potential effect of emboldening people. And with every Trump loss, Trump gets weaker. And the forces who are aligned against Trump, that would be we, the people, the vast majority of the American people, get stronger. And we realize our efforts are having the desired effect. Whether it is military troop withdrawals, and the recent reporting is that military troops, whether they're federalized National Guards or military members proper, all have been withdrawn from the states. We just saw that the ICE immigration enforcement operation in Minnesota is withdrawing in its entirety. That's the new reporting. We the people, are having an impact. We are doing this, and the courts are doing it. So make no mistake about it. We need to continue to ratchet up our efforts. We need to double down. We need to triple down and keep doing what we're doing, standing up, staying strong, speaking out, marching, protesting, rallying, blow those damn whistles, record with those cell phones, because guess what? Trump is getting weaker and the people are getting stronger.
We'll leave it there. Again, for those who are watching, if you'd like to stay on top of all legal news as soon as it breaks, the best way to do that is to subscribe to both of our channels. I'm going to put those links right here on the screen and also in the post description. If you're not yet subscribed, it's completely free, but again, a great way to support us and independent media. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen.
And I'm Glenn Kirshner.
You're watching The Legal Breakdown.
All right, y'all. So that was a great breakdown, a great conversation right there. If y'all have not checked out Brian Tyler Cohen, Y'all need to go over and check out his channel, subscribe to him, become a member, watch his videos. He's really great. And he also goes out and gets boots on the ground and does reports and stuff like that down at the White House and sometimes down at the courts. So yeah, but basically the bottom line here is Senator Kelly has scored the significant legal wins that he deserved to score. A federal judge has curbed the Pentagon's attempt to punish him for his public statements, and he's preserved his military rank and retirement pay while his case is proceeding. These rulings emphasize free speech protections for retired military personnel and represent a notable judicial rebuke of the executive branch to attempt to discipline him over a political speech. And so this is a lot of the things that we are seeing, we're dealing with right now, being silenced. A lot of people are been in a place where they feel as though they're being silenced, whether it's you're talking about political stuff, you're talking about truth, whatever it is, right? And I just like to see these wins. I like to see that the lawmakers are standing on the right side of justice when it comes to these things, despite what this administration tries to manipulate and do. But anyway, y'all, we're going to go ahead and get into the next video in just a moment. I got to take another quick song break, and we will be right back. The next topic we'll be talking about, again, we got to return back to Pam Bondi. She's facing some major backlash from MAGA after her insane behavior in the courtroom as far as the Epstein hearing. And we're going to be listening to none other than the I've Had It podcast. I love those ladies over there. They give me life. They really do. And so they're going to break it all down for us, y'all. We're going to have some laughs. We're going to be able to have some moments where we like, heck yeah, that's exactly how I feel. Because I'm telling you, these ladies are very real. So we're going to get into that in just a moment. But when it comes to songs, y'all, let's go ahead and get to this song break, and we'll be right back.
On the bill is looking faded and frayed. The fourth estate is corporate owned and heavily paid. They're trading in the facts for a narrative fabricated. If you leak the truth, you get deleted and degraded. Look, the teleprompter's glowing with a scripted out deception, a digital infection to manipulate perception. They steer the conversation in a singular direction while the First Amendment's dying with no hope of resurrection. It's a manufactured crisis, yeah, they're selling us the fear, whispering the lies until it's all the people here. They call it fact-checking just to keep the vision blurry while they bury every whistleblower in a frantic hurry. Silence in the streets, silence in the booth, a total moratorium on anyone with truth. They're tearing out the pages, yeah, they're burning down the fence. A war against the people and against our common sense. It's the sound of the silence, it's heavy and it's cold. It's the sound of the silence, it's heavy and it's cold. Check the independent outlets, yeah, they're catching all the heat. The ones who skip the press release and actually hit the beat. But the algorithms weaponize, the reach is getting throttled. The spirit of the journalist is suffocated bottle. They shadow ban the brave and they platform the fake. It's a psychological game with the highest of stakes. If you don't toe the line, then they label you a threat, putting filters on your mouth like a suffocating net. They claim they're stopping harm, but they're only stopping thought. Democracy is auctioned and the airwaves have been bought. The gatekeepers are frantic, they're losing their control, so they're trying to put a padlock on the collective soul. They're cutting the wires, they're pulling the plugs, treating the seekers of truth like the thugs. From the boardrooms to the courtrooms, the pressure is rising. The death of the discourse of what they're devising. The spark in the dark is a beautiful thing. Let the bells of the rebels and dissidents ring. Of peace if the cost is your tongue. The songs of the ancestors are waiting to be sung. They want us quiet, compliant, and staring at the floor while they're locking up the exits and they're bolting every door. But the truth is a frequency they can't fully jam. I'm a man with a mind, I'm not a ghost in their program. No more silence. The loudest thing in the world is the truth they try to hide. Keep the mic on, keep the eyes open. Keep the eye camera silent. Keep the eye
So Pam Bondi got in front of Congress yesterday and lied and threw a temper tantrum and acted like she was 5 years old, only for an audience of one person, and that's Trump, so he can say, yeah, you stuck it to him. But MAGA's not even buying it. Her ridiculous claims about there's no Epstein list and all the lies that this DOJ and FBI are telling, not even MAGA loyalists are buying it. Here we have Joe Rogan.
Going on, so. FBI concluded Jeffrey Epstein wasn't running a sex trafficking ring for powerful men. File show.
So there you go.
Oh, there you go. Who says that? What's that source?
Yeah, it's going around I just found the place that was showing the headline. It was going around the internet today.
Today?
Yeah, the AP. It's the AP reporting it. Yeah.
Today.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was I thought that was from 2005.
This is like the FBI.
I was like,
today.
That's
the gaslightiest gaslighting shit I've ever heard in my life.
Whoa. That's coming from the manosphere, the gaslighting I've ever heard. And, you know, we've heard so many times, Joe Rogan's who got Donald Trump elected. So even he's not buying it.
Zoom is what you're recording your podcast with. You're missing.
Yeah, I don't really believe that Joe Rogan got Donald Trump elected.
I don't either.
I don't buy that narrative. I don't buy that one podcaster has that kind of power over the electorate. But the situation with Joe Rogan is sometimes things are so obvious that even Trump loyalists, Trump apologists, Elon Musk loyalists, and Elon Musk apologists cannot defend it. And so what this is a larger thing to me than any sort of credibility to Joe Rogan is that the evidence is so overwhelming that you cannot say it's a hoax, that even he is saying this is insane and Trump's government is trying to gaslight us.
And then we have one more, just MAGA, who has, this man, Tim Pool, has been in the White House press office asking questions to the White House press secretary. Here are his thoughts on the Jeffrey Epstein scandal.
Cutting Trump any slack. Now that we know that they've covered up the conspirator documents, there's a document saying that they were investigating co-conspirators Epstein. There's photos and videos of minors and children. Dan Bongino was like, look, a lot of these things were hearsay and, you know, fake tips that were uncorroborated. All of that is true, but there's still no excuse for them not exposing these deep, dark, corrupt pedos.
Here's the thing. Like you said, the evidence is so overwhelming, but the cracks are starting to form. And hopefully they will continue to form because there is no doubt Pam Bondi, full stop, covering up everything. Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, all of these people are covering up for Donald Trump and the people that he associated himself with Jeffrey Epstein. It's undeniable, like you said.
This is the biggest global cover-up imaginable. And the fact that with each and every drop, there is a discovery that every single person in his cabinet and in his orbit is in the Epstein files. And I just also want to draw attention to the Democrats that are in the Epstein files and an Obama attorney who is effusively emailing back and forth with Jeffrey Epstein, Larry Summers, Bill Clinton. We have to have something in common at some point with the people that want to, you know, root out the enemy from within. Surely Tim Pool and Joe Rogan and the people on the left can all agree that Republicans, Democrats, this administration, Merrick Garland's DOJ, why the F that didn't they do anything? Why didn't he conduct an investigation into the quote suicide? Surely we can find some sort of bipartisan support that this cover-up cannot go on, that this is massive, bigger than Watergate times 1 billion. And so I'm cautiously hopeful about this, but you know, these spaces of men see liberals that want people to have health care and don't want to beat up on gay people and embrace multiculturalism as a huge, huge problem. So I'm very cautious about these fissures. We started reporting on fissures in the MAGA movement several months ago, but he still solidifies Trump, the Republican base support with high 80s high 80s. He keeps the Republicans there. So I'm just cautiously optimistic about this.
And I think it's just really important while Pam Bondi is, going completely unhinged, crazy person, tantrum thrower in front of Congress, other countries are opening investigations into the people that were part of the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. Other countries are parting ways with politicians that were in the Epstein files. The only country that I see that's not is the United States, and they're covering it up to the end.
And Israel.
And Israel, obviously. All right. And then something else we learned from Pam Bondi's meltdown in front of Congress is when Congress people went to the DOJ to review these files, we are now finding out that DOJ was tracking what they were putting on their phones, what they were searching, all of the information on their phone was being tracked by the FBI. Here we go. Lawmakers accuse DOJ of spying on their Epstein file searches, citing photo book of Bondi's burn book. This surprises me zero, absolutely zero. But the hypocrisy that they are tracking the phones of Congresspeople while they are reviewing Epstein files.
This is your brain when you're struggling to focus.
Juxtaposed to these Congresspeople that are so mad that during the January 6th investigation by Jack Smith, he was looking to different activity of Congresspeople about how they participated in January 6th in an open criminal investigation, and they want $500,000 apiece over it. Yet they're sitting there acting like it is fine to look up what Congress is searching. It's the hypocrisy. Again, it's not surprising, but it is so outstandingly clear.
And I want to remind everybody, hypocrisy is a feature, not a bug. It is intentional. This is an intentional fascist play for them to say, we get to spy, but you can't. We get to shoot Americans in the street, but you can't. We get to demean people and be incredibly partisan, but you can't. We put the onus of you on that. And furthermore, I would even take it a step further to say that this sort of surveillance state that we just witnessed there is just the tip of the iceberg. This coincides with Palantir and ICE using phones to take a picture of a protester and then putting it into a database. And then the people who are in this database are then getting their TSA pre-check removed for simply exercising their First Amendment right. So what this shows me is the surveillance state stuff that Alex Jones and all the right-wing conspiracy theorists went on and on and on about. I mean, Alex Jones, I'm surprised he even lived through his episodes wherein he supported on that, where he went in on that. That surveillance state is coming to fruition under a fascist regime. And this, to me, is very telling that it's not only American citizens they're doing it to, but they're also doing it to members of Congress. And this is going to continue. It's furthermore going to continue because Hakeem Jeffries and Chuckles are going to continue to fund these bills to ICE that give corporate welfare and subsidies to Peter Thiel, an immigrant who has too much grease on his skin and is inherently unlikable to put his name on a ballot and go run for office. So he wants to cheat by colluding with a sex trafficker pedophile, Peter Thiel, and Jeffrey Epstein, because they decided they didn't think democracy was compatible anymore. So they have all of these people, powerful people, honeypotted. And this surveillance state that you're seeing right now is just the tip of the iceberg. It's going to get worse. And the mining of information is going to get worse. And we have to have an opposition party that resists this entirely. Zero funding to these organizations. And I just read recently that Kelly Loeffler, who is in Trump's regime, she bought some stock in Grok right before the Pentagon contract. This whole thing that you're seeing is, number one, they're creating a mass surveillance state. Number two, Stephen Miller has grand intentions of opening up a for-profit concentration camp system across the United States, wherein it will not matter if you're brown-skinned, white-skinned, whatever. There's an Irish man that has been in a concentration camp in the United States right now for 4 months, where they want to mass incarcerate people for profit. And everything this administration does with talking about job reports, not talking about job reports, AI, not talking about AI chips, bombing Venezuela, everything is a shakedown where people in his administration are profiting off of this. The corruption and the espionage and the surveillance is at a scale that could only be parallel with the scale of Jeffrey Epstein's child rape trafficking scheme. It is beyond the pale. And that little clip that we saw there is just the tip of the iceberg as to the surveillance plans of these oligarchs. All right, listener, do you ever have these moments where you're like, something is wrong with my body? You're not sleeping well. You might wake up with
absolutely clear opposition to this party. Unfortunately, she's not in leadership. Here she is.
Think of DOJ evidently tracking search histories of your colleagues as you search for the
It's deeply disturbing that Pam Bondi had, and they had preserved essentially, as you mentioned, search histories of sitting members of Congress on the Epstein files. They were looking at what members of Congress were looking at, and they were using that, importantly, as ammunition against them, their own search histories against them in a hearing by Pam Bondi. I think that.
Here's the deal. We need more. I mean, that to me, why isn't she out leading the charge? Because she sees it as clear as crystal. You are invading the privacy of Congress people and everybody else. Stand up. Let's take names. But I'm just not seeing that from anybody else. I did not. Zoe Lofgren I saw, but AOC and Zoe Lofgren were the only people that I saw that seemed to be talking about this.
I saw on corporate news last night, to be fair, a lot of this taking the lead in lots of different members of Congress. And I've also seen on social media, lots of different members of Congress, to be fair to the Democrats that go in there and work every day that aren't beholden to corporations. I saw a lot. The problem is the overwhelming mistake of the current Democratic Party right now is they are unable to put a unified resistance together because the leadership is disjointed from the members like AOC and the members like Ro Khanna and the members like Robert Garcia, and the members below Hakeem Jeffries are kind of muzzled because they feel like they have to blindly support the Democratic Party. And nobody wants to have a viable fissure. Even AOC and Zohran Mamdani have said they would like to see Hakeem Jeffries as the Speaker of the House. So there are bargains made behind American public's back that I'm not privy to, I don't understand, and I do not approve of. But in fairness to a lot of these progressive Dems that we featured on the podcast, I do see them speaking out. It's just very difficult to get a unified voice when you don't have a unified opposition party and you have the leadership who wants to service corporations first, who wants to service Palantir first, who wants to service the military-industrial complex first via Israel. And then you have people who really want to make a progressive party. And that's why you don't hear that unified hum that you want to hear, Pumps.
Probably right, but we got to keep beating the drum. All right, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and we will be back with more news.
All right, y'all. So that was the I've Had It podcast. IHIP. You guys can go and search them on YouTube, find their channel. Please subscribe, become a member, and check out some of their videos and their conversation because they really go in. They say the things that need to be said. And child, they really are funny. Okay, because they don't hold anything back. And they really give me life because they say a lot of things that I want to say that I can't say right now. And they are able to say. So yeah, they keep it real, y'all. So I just want to go ahead and play that real quickly. But we do have some more things that we got to get into, okay? So the next video that I'm going to go ahead and show y'all, if y'all have not heard yet, we got to talk about Lorenzo Sewell. I think I'm saying that wrong, probably, because I always pronounce people's name wrong. But Lorenzo Sewell, or Sewell, is a senior pastor at 180 Church, a non-denominational congregation on Detroit's west side. He was born in 1981 and has led the church for several years. Sewell said he became a Christian after personal spiritual experiences that he had in 1999, and he adheres to a charismatic conservative Christian theology. He actively engages in politics, arguing that the Bible is a political book and that being politically neutral isn't possible for Christians, a stance he's voiced publicly in many interviews. So why are we talking about him today? He became a notable figure in Republican circles during and after the 2024 campaign. He hosted then candidate Donald Trump at events in Detroit and helped mobilize support among some Black voters. He spoke at the 2024 Republican National Convention. Most publicly, he delivered the benediction at Trump's January 20th, 2025 inauguration, which coincided with Martin Luther King Jr. Day. In that benediction, Sewell quoted King's "I Have a Dream" speech extensively, combined with patriotic language and prayer for Trump's leadership, framing it as a moment for America to dream again. He also prayed specifically for divine protection over Trump, using religious imagery of angels and calling for freedom to reign across the nation. As of now, Sewell has defended Trump's rollback of DEI, which is diversity, equity, inclusion policies, and has described the president as anti-racist in his own terms, not based on systemic critiques, but citing personal opportunity and individual success narratives. This is a statement drawing the most criticism as the dumbest excuse for Trump's racism that we reference. His political alignment is rooted in belief that Trump's economic and cultural messaging resonates with some Black voters, especially around crime, economics, and faith values, themes that he has previously promoted publicly. While many GOP leaders and conservative media applaud his prayer at the inauguration, some civil rights figures and Black faith leaders pushed back, arguing that quoting Dr. King in that context misrepresents King's legacy and civil rights meanings. There has been visible online criticism from multiple communities. Some commentators have accused him of co-opting civil rights icons for political ends, claiming he used Dr. King's words to support an agenda that critics say run counter to what King's legacy was about. Others have mocked or scolded him for perceived political opportunism, especially pointing to his launching of a meme cryptocurrency shortly after the inauguration event, a move some see as monetizing his public political role. Certain commentators have also criticized him for shunning Black media while engaging primarily with conservative outlets, particularly Fox News. According to profiles, Sewell has worked to increase Black voter engagement with conservative politics, hosting events and encouraging turnout for Republican platforms within Detroit, a city that's traditionally dominated by Democratic support. He's been vocal in critiquing Democratic politicians as well. For example, slamming Vice President Kamala Harris for her political engagement in Detroit, reinforcing his alignment with GOP messaging. The controversy around him isn't just about one interview or one statement. It's part of a broader political battle over race, faith, and how civil rights narratives are used in contemporary politics. Some see his support of Trump as a conservative policy as genuine faith-based conviction. Others see it as symbolic appropriation that glosses over systemic concerns in civil rights history. But anyway, y'all, that's just a rundown of who this person is and what has been said. But let's get into this current issue that we have right here. And this will be Coach D. So Coach D will be speaking on this from his platform. Let's go ahead and take a listen. Let me get everything set up real quick and we'll be right back.
Why not? You know, one of the reasons why racism will never die in this country is because racist Republicans will always find tokens to put a black or brown face on their racism. I want you to watch this video and brace yourself. It is one of the most embarrassing 30 seconds you're ever going to watch. But I want you to watch this guy, and then we'll come back because I'm going to show you not only is he embarrassing, but he's also dumb as fuck. Because after I show you this embarrassing clip of him being mocked by Republicans while he put on this minstrel show for them, I'm then going to show you him talking about why he knows that Donald Trump isn't racist after posting this video depicting Michelle and Barack Obama as apes. And when we let freedom ring, we will be able to speed up that day where all of your children, black men and white men, Protestant and Catholic, Jew and Gentile, will be able to sing in the meaning of that old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. Thank you, God Almighty. We are free at last. Did you see the way Howard Lutnick and all the other millionaires and billionaires who were standing behind J.D. Vance and Donald Trump were laughing at him and mocking him? You don't think they were saying, look at our coon. Look at our coon. Can you believe we got this guy to do this for us? That's what they were saying. Now that embarrassing idiot decided that he had something profound to tell the black community. He had a question that no one else was asking, probably because it's stupid as hell. But he had this question that he wanted to relate to the fact that Donald Trump is not racist. He wanted the black community to know, because of the answer to his question, it proves there's no way Donald Trump is racist. Brace yourself. This is the stupidest thing you're probably going to hear today.
The 180 Church tomorrow, I'm going to talk about why President Trump's post wasn't racist. This is my barber. This is G. Say what up to everybody, G.
Hey, what's happening?
I asked G a critical question that I know nobody out there is asking themselves is this question. How many people from the hood really even follow Truth Social? Have you thought about that? How many people from our communities really know? Now, G, did you see some post about Barack Obama?
No.
You see that? G, how many people here you cut that's black in the hood? Everybody, right?
Yeah, I cut a lot of people. A lot of black.
Did they say anything to you?
No conversation.
That's my point. It is a cruel, cruel game the Democrats are playing with black people. They are trying to make people think that the president is racist and the post is racist about a social media platform that black people don't even follow. That is horrible. And the only black people that are talking about this is privileged black people that don't even live around black people.
Absolutely.
Senator Tim Scott, all of these people out here, these so-called preachers and pastors, that one moment they're with the president, the next moment they're not. You know nothing about black people. You're not in a black community. I'm going to preach tomorrow about this subject.
Dude, the amount of stupidity that you decided to record post for the entire OT. Do you really ever? That dumbass question you asked and the conclusion you drew from that dumbass question and the answer that you got, again, the internet's forever to always be able to come back to this stupid ass post that you made. So let's start with this. Let's start with you basically making my point for me. You said black people aren't even on Truth Social. People in the hood don't even have Truth Social accounts. Guess why? Because they know Donald Trump is a racist, so they don't support his dumbass platform. The only reason why people like me even go on Truth Social is that so we can keep track of the dumbass and racist things that Donald Trump says and posts on Truth Social. And you basically gave the equivalent of, if a tree falls in the woods and no one's there, does it make a sound? It does, because we know sound happens. Just like we know that even if that many Black people didn't see the racist post, doesn't mean it's not racist. Are you stupid? That's like saying KKK meetings aren't racist because there's no Black people there to see it. Dude, that's the dumbest thing ever. And did he just say, I'm going to preach about this at church on Sunday? Who the hell goes to this church? Who wants to hear this dude preach his bootlicking ass cooning for Donald Trump? Who wants to hear that? Did you not see the video of this dude cosplaying as MLK, putting on a show for a bunch of racist white millionaires and billionaires who mocked him during that time? And now he says, people in the hood don't even have Truth Social. You've been my barber for years, right? Don't you cut a lot of Black people hair? Did you even see that post about Barack Obama? Nah, man, I didn't even see it. I guess it's not racist. I didn't see my neighbor call this other Black person the N-word, so I guess they're not racist, because not enough Black people saw it or heard about it. Not to mention, I'm going to question the fact that you're even saying that Black people didn't see it, because we saw that on everything. That was everywhere. It wasn't just on Truth Social. It was on X. It was on Instagram. It was on Facebook. Places where Black people are, they saw it. You're lying, and so is your barber. You guys are the dumbest people around. The reason why racism will forever be around is because of tokens and coons like these people. That is why, because they will always be able to find these people. They will always be able to tokenize them, to use them, to say dumb shit and do dumb ass, these cosplaying speeches where that guy really was like, hey, God almighty. Dude, fucking hate you guys. You're the worst. You're the worst. Your family hates you. Your cousins and uncles, they fucking hate you people. You're the worst. You're the embarrassment of this entire society. Period.
Don't want no enemies.
All right, y'all. So I know that was a little bit probably hard for some people to hear, but I thought it was a great video, a great explanation, great talking points, and things that sometimes, look, I probably say and think myself, right? And especially with experience that I've had in my real life, experience that I've seen here, just even on YouTube in the Black tea sector, right? Yeah, we're different. There's a lot of us and we're all different. Let's just be very clear about that. We have the ones who get it and understand and they stand on the right side. And then we have the ones that, you know, they tap dance and they cheerlead and they do other things on another side. And when it comes to that, we don't know what people's motives or reasons for being that way is. But one thing I can tell you, and one thing I think a lot of people are effing around and finding out, is that it doesn't serve or benefit us as a people. We can sometimes, in a lot of things, you know, separate what issues we have as a certain group or a race of people. And then we have things that we deal with when it comes to all of us as the human race, despite our differences. But when it comes to, you know, the Black community and Black people, considering the history, considering the things that our ancestors have fought for and fought through to put us in a different place and space, not just mentally, but physically and financially. Certain things that individuals come out and do and say that counteract with all of that, I believe is very problematic. I do. And I think that moving forward, you know, it's not helping. It's not helping anything. Taking the sides that you take, speaking the things that you speak, saying the things that you say. When do we understand that, you know, that's counterproductive? That's counterproductive. That's not helping or aiding and assisting in any of the struggles that we have and any of the progression that we're trying to see and make, not just in this country, but in this world, right? And so, you know, every now and then we come across these type of individuals that, you know, say these type of things, believe these type of things, move and operate in the way that they do. And it is embarrassing. It's embarrassing because, you know, the history is out there. We know about the fake history. We know that, you know, they tried to feed us a fake history. But now the books are open, the libraries are open, people's third eyes are open. And so they have gone out there and they have now, you know, found the actual true real history. And so the individuals who have that know that. When we see individuals act this way and speak this way, considering how much is at stake and how much blood has been shed and sacrificed for the future, for our today and our tomorrow to be extremely different than what our yesterday was, then it's almost like it's a stab in the heart. It's a stab in the heart. And so, you know, people will feel about it how they may. Some people may say nothing's wrong with that type of behavior, what he said, where he stands, how he feels. And then people might say, no, unacceptable, disgusting. So, you know, I don't want to judge. I can't judge. I can only speak for myself, how I think and how I feel, how anybody else thinks and feels. That is their thoughts and feelings. But for me, I've been seeing a lot of this. You know, we talk about a lot of it over here. We talked about, you know, Maggie Minaj, right? Look what she's been doing and how she's been selling out her people and her fans for a, you know, her own potential gain in some way that we can't be sure if she's going to get or not. And when she doesn't get it, where do you think she's going to run back to first? The same people that she sold out for help and support. And so that's typically how it works. It's like, you know, people will jump ship for a bigger or better opportunity, and they will step on and squash and throw their people under the bus in order to get that opportunity. And then when they get there, you know what, handed to them, and they F around and find out exactly what it is and exactly where they stand amidst some of these individuals and people, then they come running back to the community for help. Have y'all ever watched a movie, and it's a really good movie, I don't know, you know, we ain't even gonna get into all of this, y'all. I ain't gonna tell y'all who movie it is, but I'm gonna just tell y'all the name of the movie. But there's a great actress in it, and I know a lot of y'all know, Halle Berry. And the movie is called With Their Eyes Watching God. And I watched that movie. And one of the things that stood out to me in that movie is that, you know, it started off, you know, with Holly. She's a young girl, you know, she's living out there with her grandmother. They don't got much money. They're struggling, all of these things like that. Her grandmother tries to marry her off to this other black man who has some land and a few dollars, something like that going on for himself, on the land. But when she married him and she had to go with him, you know, she would have to work the land. She would have to be, you know, cooking and cleaning and doing all the things. And for her, she just didn't want that. And so this other black man rode into town, and he was a politician like man, like a congressman or something like that, mayor, something. Or he decided he was going to be mayor of this black town that they created. And he put himself in that position. And when she was with him, you know, she had, you know, fancy clothes and, you know, fancy foods and all of these things. But he really didn't look at her and respect her or anything like that. She was just necessarily his woman, is, you know, you're just the help to me, basically. And, you know, whatever, the bridal passions and the wifely duties, all of that was requested. But she wasn't happy living that life. All right. So then she ran off with a rogue. They came into town. The husband did wind up passing away, God forbid. but she ran off with a rogue that came into town. She had the best fun and relationship and experience in her life. But one of the things that I remember that stood out to me in that movie is that some of those women from that town, they would leave with these men, and some of these men were good men and some of these men weren't good men. And a lot of times, when it didn't work out and they thought it was going to be, cha-ching, they would come strolling back into town looking like they were battered and toe up, no money, no clothes, a shoe heel missing, and just strutting back into town for the support of the town and the people, because they went out there and they effed around and they found out. So I felt like those scenes and stuff from that movie and other movies like it as well, like it kind of just shows you, like, you go out there and you think that you're gonna have this big beautiful life and live under this big beautiful bill, and then you F around and you find out, and then you have to come crawling back or running back to your people for help, aid, and support after you get chewed up and spit out, So long story short, y'all, I say that to say, when I see things like this, that's what it reminds me of. Like, you go and you run over there with the one you think's going to do better for you, have better for you, and give you all these great opportunities and pour into your church, pour into your business, whatever, give you these pardons and all of these things of that nature. And then when you don't get it and you done made a whole damn fool of yourself, you come crawling back to your community for help and aid and support. And a lot of people have been seeing that this is a pattern. And so a lot of people are no longer welcoming some of these people back with open arms after they do that and they sell out. They just, they don't really care. They don't care. They tell them to figure it out for yourself, because, and we're talking about in a political space. So we have these individuals that are partnering and pushing political processes and laws and regulations that affect majority of people that are in certain communities, certain tax brackets, things of that nature. Very important, right? And yeah, you might be an entertainer, you might be a mega church pastor. So you got the money, you got the cars, you got the houses, you got the clothes, you got the food. You ain't got to worry. There's still people that are worrying about how they're going to put food on the table and feed their children. And you nestling up and buddying up with individuals, the likes of those type of individuals, for your own personal financial gain or political gain or whatever it is you're looking to get out of it, and selling people out in your own community that you have a church in, when on most Sundays you're asking these people to probably give you their last in the collection plate when it comes to these pastors and stuff like that, hooping and hollering and screaming and performing, right, and saying that you are spreading God's word, but really all you're doing is running a hustle. A lot of people are paying attention to that, and they're waking up and they're seeing, like, that this is how some of these people do, whether they're at the pulpit or whether they're at the podium somewhere now at the court or the White House, right? So we're seeing a lot of these individuals, or sitting somewhere in TPUSA stages, right? So we're seeing these people that, wow, you thought that they were down for the community, right? Because when they started out, it was all about the people. It was all about the struggle, and we're going to make it out, and we're going to be okay. And then once they became okay, and then they needed some more and some more and some more because they got greedy, they forgot about the people, and they started partnering and putting themselves in places and spaces where it can be beneficial for their pockets, for their representation, and anything else for that matter that they need. But they're people that they've used. They've gotten nothing from these people in return. You've only invested in them. You've paid money for their concert tickets. You've paid money for their CDs. You've paid money for their perfumes and their clothing lines and all these things, right? We're talking about You know, that's more so on the celebrity thing. But then we got Trump out here to sell them Bibles and shoes as well. And people would probably purchase those. So a lot of the time, what we just gotta really think about is that, you know, most people are in it for self. They're in it for self. They don't really truthfully care about anybody else. They convince you that they do because they need your support. They need your money. They need your backing. And then once they get what they want, or they can climb the ladder to the next level and leave you at the bottom behind after you didn't poured in everything you had to support them and lift them up, they don't reach back a hand to pull you up. They keep going up the ladder. They forget about you. They make choices and decisions and do things that are not beneficial for the people or the community. And I think a lot of people are starting to see that now. But anyway, I just wanted to say that real quick. So let's go ahead and move on, unfortunately, to our last video for this live, which I say that because this one is very, it pulls on your heartstrings. But I got to talk about it, and I got to bring it to awareness because we have children right now in detention centers. And when you look at it, when you see it, when you understand the conditions that these children are in, it's very sad. Okay? They have infants, they have toddlers, all ages of children. And there are some lawsuits and some battles that are happening right now to fight against this. But yeah, it's very disturbing. So let's go ahead and get into this first video in this report. I will say, and you see us on the screen, that there is an extreme trigger warning. We're going to play a little bit of this video, and then I want to read out some things to y'all. I have some articles as well that I'm going to read and some audios that I'm going to play for you. So give me just a moment. I'm going to get all of that set up, and we'll be right back, okay?
The Children of Dilley ProPublica investigation. This recent ProPublica article provides a rare look inside the South Texas Family Detention Facility in Dilley, Texas, where children are being held with their parents by U.S. immigration authorities. It goes beyond broad policy reporting and includes voices and accounts from the children themselves. Key points from the ProPublica reporting. The article is based on in-person observations, conversations, and interviews with children at the Dilley Immigration Detention Center. Children expressed anguish and fear about being detained, often writing about what they miss from life outside detention, like friends, school, toys, pets, and stability. Some kids drew drawings and wrote letters explicitly asking to be released or describing how long they've been held. The center, which holds thousands of immigrants, more than half of whom are minors, reopened in 2025 and has seen families detained under current federal immigration enforcement practices. Theme: the piece gives children a direct platform to describe how detention feels to them emotionally and socially, rather than summarizing conditions solely through official statements or statistics. How the coverage was described in other news sources: children in the Dilley facility wrote letters describing fear, distress, missed schooling, and concern about treatment by staff, which were reported in detail in the ProPublica dispatch. Another report highlighted multiple letters from kids collected by advocates that revealed concerns about food, medical care, and the emotional toll of detention, running far beyond legal timelines. Why this is important. ProPublica's reporting stands out because it centers the voices of children themselves rather than just discussing policy outcomes. It offers personal reflections on life in a U.S. immigration detention facility, something often missing from broader coverage. Dilley, run by private, bad food, insufficient medicine. The lack of reliable medical care was perhaps the most serious concern parents and children spoke about in their interviews with me. The Texas-based nonprofit advocacy organization RACES, which provides legal representation to many families at Dilley, said in a recent court declaration that its clients had raised concerns about insufficient medical care on at least 700 occasions since August 2025. The organization reported children with medical complaints frequently experience delays, dismissals, or lack of follow-up. Kaylin Valero from Venezuela, who was being held with her 18-month-old Amalia Arrieta, said shortly after they were detained following an ICE appointment on December 11 in El Paso, Texas, the baby fell ill. For 2 weeks, she said, medical staff gave her ibuprofen and eventually antibiotics. But Amalia's breathing worsened to the point that she was hospitalized in San Antonio for 10 days. She was diagnosed with COVID-19 and RSV. Because she went so many days without treatment, and because it's so cold here, she developed pneumonia and bronchitis, Kayleen said. She was malnourished too because she was vomiting everything. Gustavo Santiago, the 13-year-old boy who'd been living in Texas, said he has been sick several times since he and his mom were detained on October 5 of last year at a Border Patrol checkpoint. His mom, Christian Hinojosa, said that when Gustavo had a fever, the medical staff told her he was old enough for his body to fight it off without medication. So she sat up with him all night, draping him in cold compresses. She had to take him to the infirmary for a skin rash that she believed was caused by poor water quality at the center. She said he has also experienced stomach pain and nausea, which she blamed on unsanitary food preparation. Among logs we obtained of calls made to 911 and law enforcement about the facility since it began accepting families again last spring, I found pleas for help for toddlers having trouble breathing, a pregnant woman who passed out, and an elementary school-aged girl having seizures. Local authorities were also called in for 3 cases of alleged sexual assault between detainees. DHS said in its statement, no one is denied medical care. CoreCivic said that health and safety is a top priority for the company, and that detainees at Dilley are provided with a continuum of healthcare services, including preventative care and mental health services. The company said its medical staff meet the highest standards of care and said the facility works closely with local hospitals for any specialized medical needs. Torn from their lives, Ariana and her mother, Stephanie, were detained on Dekar 1 when they went for one of their regular check-ins at an ICE office in New York City's Federal Plaza, which are required as they wait for a decision on their asylum case. Stephanie had come to the U.S. with experience working as an accountant, and after securing her work permit, she had finally found a job at a local import business where she could put that experience to use. They had been regularly checking in with ICE for years without incident. But after mom and daughter showed up for their 8 a.m. ICE appointment, they were told they couldn't leave this time and were on a plane to Dilley by 6 that evening without being given a chance to call their family. Since the day my mom and I get detained in Manhattan, NY, my life was instantly paused, Ariana wrote in her letter from detention after our meeting. All kids are being damaged mentally. They witness how they've been treated. A 7-year-old Venezuelan girl named Diana Crespo was living in Portland, Oregon, when she and her parents, Dariani Gonzalez and Yohendry Crespo, were detained outside a hospital where they'd taken Diana for emergency care. The family had been granted humanitarian parole after entering the United States in 2024 and then applied for asylum when Trump revoked the parole program, saying that Biden had used it to allow immigrants to pour into the country at record levels. She said their active asylum case didn't stop the immigration agents who intercepted them outside the emergency room from detaining them. Maria Antonia Guerra, the 9-year-old from Colombia, told me that the 10-day vacation to Disney World that she had planned with her mother and stepdad turned into more than 100 days at Dili. She'd flown into Florida from Medellin, Colombia, where she lived with her grandmother with a Cruella de Vil costume in her suitcase. Her mother, Maria Alejandra Montoya, was living in New York and had overstayed her visa, but had since married a U.S. citizen and was just waiting for her green card to be approved. Maria Antonia traveled regularly back and forth to the U.S. on a tourist visa, and Maria Alejandra had flown down to meet her at the airport. Immigration agents intercepted them and flew them to Texas. They both told me that it felt like a kidnapping. I am in a jail and I am sad, and I have fainted 2 times here inside. When I arrived every night I cried, and now I don't sleep well. Maria Antonia, who wears thick glasses, wrote to me, I felt that being here was my fault, and I only wanted to be on vacation like a normal family. Released, but still afraid. In January, shortly after my visit to Dili, ICE released some 200 people all at once without explanation. Among them were Ariana and her mom. A young girl with her black hair pulled back, wearing a black jacket, looks listless while sitting at a McDonald's with food wrappers and a half-empty orange drink on a table in front of her. Ariana at a McDonald's hours after her release from detention, courtesy of Stephanie Valladares. The releases came as such a surprise that Stephanie said another woman began screaming and refused to let go of her bunk, fearing she was about to be deported back to Ecuador. Stephanie was fitted with an ankle monitor, and she and Ariana were dropped off in Laredo, Texas, where they scrambled to buy a plane ticket to LaGuardia in New York. On Jan 22, 2 days after her release, I met Stephanie again, this time holding Gigi as she showed up for her first ICE check-in at an office near her home. She had been so nervous that she got lost on the way to the appointment. She was given a series of instructions and shown videos that explained the purpose and cadence of her regular check-ins. She'd have one every month at the office, and every 2 months she would be visited at her home. Jacob had initially refused to go to school. Mother and sister wouldn't be there when he came home, but she'd finally gotten him to go by promising every morning that she's not leaving again. Ariana went back to school.
Thank you for watching News 4 at noon. Hope you're having a good Wednesday so far. I'm David Chancellor.
And I'm Marisa Mendoza. Several protest groups have gathered in the South Texas town of Dilley today.
Yeah, so some are protesting ICE in the facility there. Others are marching in support of the crackdown on illegal immigration. In fact, we've got Sky 4. You can see here in the video right here above the scene right now.
Demonstrators are marching Main Street Park in Dilley, the South Texas Residential Center, for a couple miles away. That facility is where 5-year-old Liam Ramos and his father, who are from Ecuador, are currently being held. Both father and son were detained last week in Minnesota. Keep in mind, the boy's mother refused to take custody of her son while police detained the dad because the dad wanted the boy with him. Yesterday, a federal judge ruled they cannot be deported while their legal case proceeds. There are questions about the conditions inside the facility and whether it's safe for children. Court filings allege moldy food, worms, and severe overcrowding.
A group of Democratic lawmakers will also be taking a tour of that facility today. News 4's Taylor Wharton now with more on all of this from Dilley. She's live. Taylor, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yes, we're here in Dilley at the South Texas Residential Center, the detention center. So we got here around 10 a.m. We tried to go through. We were hit with some of those security patrols and their security over there. And we're told to come over to the road here. There's a big crowd that's gathering here now. We're told that these people here, the protesters, have to back up, but it is becoming a larger scene here right outside the detention center. So I am with State Rep Josie Garcia. How are you doing this morning?
Good, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Tell me about what is your motivation here today and what brings you out here?
Well, as a state legislator of Military City, USA, it's important that our community knows that although immigration is a federal issue, that us as state representatives are here not only to stand in solidarity with our congressional delegation as they visit and tour this facility, but also to make it clear to Texans that we're here to ensure the humane treatment of any detainees, and we're here to also demand the immediate release of anyone who is illegally detained.
Now, detained in there as well is 5-year-old Liam Ramos. Tell me a little bit about that and how that has affected you. And just seeing the crowd out here, we have lots of signs with Liam's face on it and the release of him. Tell me about that.
Well, I think for all of us, it hits us to the heart, especially those of us who are mothers and parents, you know. It's very easy for the media to drive our attention one way or another. And what we know for a fact is that when children are being impacted and families are being impacted by a process that's severely broken. And I want to make it clear that every legislative sessions, we get together and we fight for improvement in our immigration processes. And we're able to do that here in Texas. And that's why we're here, to make sure that we're able to not only stand on the front lines with our community and let them know that when children are being separated from their families and taken to another state, that's just not acceptable. What is acceptable is to fix a very flawed process. And so we're hoping that this is going to be a wonderful start to that.
Now, look at the crowd behind us. So
Yes.
what's your thought of all the people that had showed up today?
Yes, well, what I do know for a fact is that a lot of these people, and this is just a touch of the bucket, there's a lot of folks that are still staged down the road. And what is showing here is people have come from all across Texas. We have representation from Houston, from Dallas, even from the RVG. And I think at a time like now, when immigration impacts all of us, you know, even as a military veteran, you see here that we have the United States flag. That flag is actually being held by a former veteran as well, or a veteran who is also an immigrant from Panama. So again, we're here asking to correct the system. You know, we've experienced the deportation of active duty military members.
Thank you so
Yes,
much.
thank
Bill,
you.
I want to talk to you as well. Tell me your first name and last name.
Hey, my name is Carlos Antonio Raymond, Raymond, like everybody loves Raymond.
Now we're live on News 4 San Antonio.
News 4
Tell
San
me a
Antonio.
little bit about what brings you out here today. I see you holding your American flag.
I have fought for this flag in Vietnam, 1968. Where were you in 1968? That's okay. And I'm a first generation immigrant. Diaspora, West Africa, Jamaica, and then the Panama Canal. I came here for a better way of life. In 1968, I'm one of 19 children, and I came here for a better way of life. I came a different path through the Key West, and I was given an opportunity to stay in this country. And my path to citizenship was to join the military in Vietnam. And after I swore in, they made me an American citizen. What a proud feelings is that. And here I am now. I'm a free person. And I'm here to represent the family that are broken in our system. Our immigration system is broken. And I'm here to represent, there's no need for a young child and his father to be detained here. And I'm here to seek his release. And that's why I'm here. I came here early this morning at 5 o'clock.
Thank you so much for your time. Now, again, happening just about 2.5 miles away is a vigil turning into a march, and they're going to head down here to the detention center, calling for the release of families and children right here. I'm going to send it back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Taylor, thank you. Again, we've got a march on really both sides of this happening there in Dilley. This morning, Representative Tony Gonzalez told us that he has been inside this facility several times, and he is pushing back on the claims that the idea that the living conditions inside that center are inadequate.
So this isn't a new facility. It's been around for a long time. It's very well professionally ran. I mean, you look at I sent some video that we shared. Mm-hmm. It is, to be frank, it is better and in better condition than some of our schools here in San Antonio. And so there's a school, there's a church, there's a place for them to play soccer, a big cafeteria.
So you obviously have very distinct points of view from both sides here. We are following this developing situation. And again, Taylor Whartonby there live on the scene in Dilley. She'll have much more tonight on News 4 at 5 o'clock.
Good afternoon. My name is Juanita Torres. I'm a member of SA Stance, and I'm very grateful to be with y'all here today. I'm going to kick it off with the message in Spanish first, and then we'll continue with the program. Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Juanita Torres y soy parte de la organización SA Stance aquí en San Antonio, Texas. Estamos presentes hoy para seguir alzando la voz y la atención sobre las injusticias y condiciones inhumanas por las que nuestra comunidad inmigrante está pasando. En esta conferencia de prensa, escucharemos los comentarios de varios representantes locales y nacionales, incluyendo los de nuestro congresista Joaquín Castro, que acaba de visitar el centro de detenciones en Dilley. Nuestra organización de SA Stance entiende y reconoce que la separación de familias y deportaciones de nuestra gente ha sido algo que ha estado pasando por años. Como comunidad, nosotros demandamos la liberación inmediata de no solo Liam Adrián Conejo Ramos y su padre, pero también de todos los inmigrantes detenidos injustamente en Dilley y en centros de detenciones de todas partes. También demandamos que paren las deportaciones injustas y anticonstitucionales que están ocurriendo en nuestras comunidades por todo el país. Que nuestro Congreso pare de financiar a los agentes de ICE y sus crímenes y que de nuestro condado de Bejar siga financiando el fondo legal de recursos para migrantes que tenga representación legal justa en las cortes del condado de Bejar. Con esto voy a traer a mi compañera Aline Miranda para continuar en inglés.
Hi everyone, my name is Aline Miranda and I am a member of SA Stance. SA Stance is a coalition of organizations and individuals across San Antonio and Bejar County working to defend the rights, freedom, and safety of all immigrant communities. For over 7 years, across multiple administrations, this coalition has organized, mobilized, and demanded transparency, accountability, and justice. We're here today because what is happening right now is unacceptable and inhumane. ICE is targeting our communities at courthouses, in our neighborhoods, and even in our schools. On Tuesday, January 20th, Liam Adrián Conejo Ramos, a 5-year-old child, was taken by federal agents along with his father, Adrián Alexander Conejo Ramos, in their own driveway after Liam returned from school. Liam and his father were quickly transferred to the Dilley Detention Center. Dilley is one of the only family detention centers in the entire United States, and it's here in Texas, 1 hour from San Antonio. In addition to Dilley, there are ICE facilities of Pearsall and Cairns, where community members are detained and separated from their families. Unfortunately, Liam is not the first child detained, and it's not the only one currently being held. For years, families have been detained in indeterminate periods of time, forced to live in unsanitary conditions with limited access to healthcare, unsafe water, and expired food. Today, these facilities are getting more attention, and we really hope that this helps to give visibility to the multiple violations happening at detention centers across Texas and the United States.
Right now, eyes are on the national spotlight, but we want them to also bring the spotlight to Bexar County. Bexar County is one of the counties with the highest number of ICE detainers in Texas. San Antonio now ranks 9th in the country for the highest number of ICE arrests. Our city has also become one of the worst places in the nation for immigration courthouse arrests, with nearly 100 arrests in just 3 months, including 12 children. ICE Pearsall facility held the 5th highest number of immigrants so far in fiscal year 2026, averaging 1,732 per day. Our demands as SA Stance are the immediate release of Liam and his father and the reunification of all families impacted by immigration detention, an immediate end to family detention at Dilley and all detention facilities, an immediate end to unlawful deportations, We demand all funds being sent to ICE for these heinous enforcement actions be ceased immediately. And we want the renewal of the Immigrant Legal Defense Fund here in Bexar County, so families have access to legal representation and due process. With this, I turn it over to Congressman Joaquin Castro.
All right, so as y'all can hear, from some of these clips and these videos I'm showing you, when it comes to this deportation, they have children that are put in these facilities. They are not being held under the best circumstances, even though it's painted to be that way, but it's not. I have one last video that I'm going to show you guys, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap up this live. But there's been news reports that at some of these facilities, it's a horrific sight to see. The children and the people, period, are in positions and predicaments that you wouldn't want to see anybody in if you have any type of heart or integrity. And so let's go ahead and get into this last video, y'all, and then we will end this live, and I'll be back later with some other things to talk about. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Mold, limited access to clean drinking water, inadequate medical care. These are a few of food contaminated with worms and mold, limited access to clean drinking water, inadequate medical care. These are a few of the allegations made by migrant families in recent court documents about their children's conditions while in ICE custody. As part of this administration's crackdown on immigration, President Trump has restored the practice of family detention, with more than 1,700 children in custody since family detention centers reopened this past spring. Becky Wallison is a senior lawyer with the National Center for Youth Law and joins us now. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
President Trump says the border is effectively closed. If that's the case, how are these children and families still ending up in custody? Who are they?
So we've seen a lot of different trends happen since they first reopened family detention in April. But now a lot of families are being arrested from the interior of the United States. So these are your neighbors, your friends, your kids' friends who are being picked up in a lot of different ways, really from across the country.
And you've been inside the South Texas Family Residential Center in Dilley, where families are being held. Your organization has sued the federal government, alleging inadequate food, medical care, education, and safety. What were the most striking examples you witnessed that illustrate those failures?
Well, there are really profound problems with basic needs like food and water. So we have seen and heard a lot of things about children not getting child-friendly food, not being able to eat what's offered. As you mentioned, people reported vegetables that were moldy or had worms in them. People have gotten sick following meals. And there's really not food that's appropriate for small children. So, for example, one mother told us that in order to try and get her child to eat anything, she had to suck the sauce off each piece of pasta to try and get him to just eat some kind of plain meal that's not the Teddy Grahams and juice that's available.
For our viewers who might be unfamiliar, what are the minimum legal standards required when the government detains children and families?
So under the Flores Settlement Agreement, there are some basic requirements for detaining children, and those are based on the settlement when it was created in the 90s. And so children have a right to safe and sanitary conditions, and they have a right to be treated with a particular attention to their unique vulnerabilities as minors. That's the Flores Settlement Agreement. There are, of course, other requirements and constitutional requirements in terms of detaining anybody, including children. But Flores sets a very basic floor on the conditions.
And how do the current conditions compare with previous administrations? Is this a long-standing problem, or is this specific to the Trump administration?
Family detention was not being used for many years before it began again in April. And so in previous iterations, there were very similar conditions issues. And one of the biggest problems is that in 1997, the standards were what the consensus was around child welfare at that time. And now we understand and know so much more. And we know that the detention of children of any kind is really harmful. And so what we see is that as kids are in these prolonged restrictive settings, they really begin to deteriorate. They have regressions in behavior. One mother explained that her previously happy toddler was starting to hit her and hit himself in the face because he was so distraught over the conditions in which they were living. We've just seen otherwise really well-adjusted kids really devolve into concerning, just constant sadness, nightmares, crying every night. One teenage boy described to me, I mean, a big kid, he was maybe 16 or 17, that he cries every night when he goes to sleep in the detention center where he's held with his father. I would say one other deeply, deeply concerning thing that we've seen in this iteration is really concerning medical conditions. So children are not getting the care that the medical care they need. A lot of people are coming in with dangerous chronic medical issues that are not treated or are incorrectly treated. For example, one regular childhood illnesses become very dangerous in detention. So one child had an earache that turned into such a severe infection that she experienced hearing loss, and she really wasn't treated for a long period of time. And then when she finally was treated, the antibiotics they gave her were extremely strong and caused her a lot of distress. And so we see a lot of problems with just basic health, basic access to basic needs.
And on average, how long are these children and these families held in these conditions?
We've seen families being held for longer and longer periods of time. And so, most recently, according to the data that we get, we've seen several, I would say dozens of families and children that were held for more than 80 days. And so these kids are spending months in detention in these horrible conditions.
Well, the Department of Homeland Security did not respond to the NewsHour's multiple requests for a response to the allegations about the conditions at Dilley. But in court documents filed last month, the administration wrote, quote, "ICE's actions exemplify a model of regulatory compliance and humane care." How do you respond to that claim?
It's just not true. They are not complying with the Flores Settlement Agreement. They're holding children for extensive periods of time. The conditions are not meeting those basic requirements, as mentioned, not just because of the food. The water is problematic. Often the water containers have mold or algae in them around the facility. The lights are on all night. Children can't sleep. There are constant interruptions. They don't have access to school, which they admitted in their most recent filing. And in fact, there's so little to do there that it makes it all the more difficult for children to even cope with the situation in which they're being held.
To what degree is this by design to get migrants to self-deport?
I think it's very evident that none of this is necessary to carry out the immigration laws and policies, regardless of what they are. Many of these families were arrested while complying with various different forms of immigration requirements. And I think that makes it very clear that the goal is cruelty, and the goal is to make people who came to the United States often seeking safety and security to flee the United States for the countries where they felt so endangered that they had to leave. And I think we're seeing that many families really cannot tolerate the level of harm that is being imposed on them by the government and are in fact leaving.
Becky Wallison with the National Center for Youth Law. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, just a minute before you move on. I want to say thank you for watching and for supporting us. It's you, all of our viewers, our readers, and our listeners who make everything that we do possible. So thank you from everyone here at
All right, y'all. So I just wanted to go ahead and show you that as we conclude the live for this evening. But, I do have a few final closing statements. before we ended, okay? We talked through some moments of power, of scandal, and of human struggle, from the shocking ultimatums of Ghislaine Maxwell to the courtroom challenges facing leaders like Pete Hegseth and Mark Kelly, from the political storm shaking the Senate to Pam Bondi's controversial testimony, and even to a pastor's words speaking and sparking debate on race, faith, and morality. And finally, at the end here, to the children in the detention centers, the youngest among us enduring conditions that no child should have to face. It's easy to look at headlines like these and feel distant, like none of it touches our lives directly. But here's the truth. Justice, morality, and humanity don't work that way. The moment we stop caring about the others that are suffering, the people, the children, the voices that are silenced in fear, is the moment we start losing our moral compasses of our society. Caring is not a weakness. Speaking up is not a luxury. And action, even in small ways, is not meaningless. Every voice matters. Every prayer matters. Every effort to protect the vulnerable matters, because empathy, courage, and accountability ripple far beyond what we see. So today, let this be our takeaway. Hope is not passive. Hope is action. It is the choice to stand for what's right, even when it's inconvenient, to defend the truth, even when it challenges power, to lift up the weak, even when no one else is watching, and to remember always that our humanity is measured not by who we protect when it is easy, but who we protect when it is hard. Let's carry that hope forward. Let's carry that hope that cares forward. Because in the end, a world where we all stand for one another is a world worth living in. And it starts with us right now. All right, y'all, that's all I got for this live. I'll be back on another one this evening. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. I hope you all have a great rest of the day. Golden out.
A roof above, a shelter from the storm, a gentle hand to keep a spirit warm, a plate of food, a mind that's free to learn, a simple peace, a righteous wage to earn. These are the needs, the bedrock and the base, the sacred ground of the whole human race. But the screaming and selling something cheap, while the real world babies cry themselves to sleep. We are human, blood and bone and soul, with a right to be loved, a right to be made whole. This is our story, this is our sacred song. In the eyes of the Creator is where we all belong. We are human, with more than they can prize, beyond the hate groups and the loaded dice. We're human, worth more than they can prize, beyond the hateful whispers and the loaded dice. They're painting pictures twisted and real, teaching our children how they ought to feel. Their values in the label on your shoes, or the filtered life you desperately choose. They magnify the hate, they celebrate the greed, and plant a poison, a the vision, the mission of the television. Spitting division, a mental prison. Got you chasing likes, addicted to the feed, ignoring the hunger, the fundamental need. They building paper idols on a digital stage, putting our future daughters in a virtual cage. Nah, we gotta break the cycle, gotta cut the cord. The real word is powerful, mightier than the sword. So we teach them about their history, teach them about their grace, teach them about the power in every single face. We are human, blood and bone and soul, with a right to be loved, a right to be made whole. This is our story, this is our sacred song. In the eyes of the Creator, it's where we all belong. We are human, worth more than they can price, beyond the hateful whispers and the loaded dice. Human, worth more than they can price, beyond the hateful whispers and the loaded dice. We will build a wall where every voice is heard and valued. Yeah. And truth is not a whisper, but a mighty thundering word. A word of justice, a word of peace, a promise that the fight will never cease. This ain't just a track, this a call to action. For every mother, father, every single fraction of the community holding it down on the ground. Time to get loud, make a revolutionary sound. Look your child in the eye, tell them that they matter. Tell them their spirit's something that no lie can shatter. Tell them knowledge is the weapon, love is the shield, and the truth is the harvest we gonna grow in this field. Yeah! We are human! Yes, we are! Teach the children near and far. Let them know their sacred work. Fire for every single soul on this a right to live, a gift to get. Oh, say, can you see? Look up, child. By the dawn's early light, it's a new day. What so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming. Hold your head. Whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. Through the perilous fight. All the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rocket's red glare, let it shine. The bombs bursting in air, we won't back down. Gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, it's still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Wait for justice. Down Yeah. You tuned into the right place. Welcome to the rain. Golden Queen. H2.0. Let's get it. You're looking for a diamond, found a treasure in the rough. Tired of all the noise, cause you finally had enough. I'm here to build a movement on a mission for the nation. Dropping gems of knowledge, killing all the hesitation. We fighting for the truth, yeah, we fighting for what's right. Building unity and shining up a brand new light. It's a variety channel, but the vision's crystal clear. Pushing us all forward, conquering the doubt and fear. Yo, welcome to the Queendom. H2.0 on your screen, with the content's real and smart and funny in between. This is more than just a stream, it's a platform for the change. Time to elevate the game and rearrange. So if you're ready for a vibe that you can feel and trust, joining in the movement is a definite must. This ain't just another channel talking smack behind the screen. It's a spotlight for the creators, building up of the scene. Spreading radical love, that's the message in the code. Helping everybody carry up a heavy load. From social justice issues to the laughter that we need. Planting seeds of progress, watch them grow from just a seed. This is authentic, this is raw, this is everything you saw. Welcome to the battle that is truly being fought. Oh, so come with your respect and see the real effect. Cause I protect my own right here on the throne. Don't make me unleash the dragon. You've been warned. Yeah. Don't make me unleash the dragon. You've been warned. Yeah. Don't make me unleash the dragon, you've been warned. Yeah. Yeah. Golden Queen H2.0. The movement starts now. Go ahead. Hit subscribe, ring that notification bell. You don't want to miss a thing. Welcome to the family.